Good morning, up bright and breezy. We're about 12 hours into our 24-hour stint. We had horrendous rain in the night. However, it's now looking glorious. It looks like we're going to have a really nice day ahead of us. Got a day packed full of ecological adventure. First thing we're going to do is go collect the moth trap and see what we managed to capture. Oh, hi guys. You coming with me? Right, so now comes the tricky part. Transferring the moths from the bucket into a clear container to make it easier for us to ID. So I have this nice large clear storage box to transfer them into and my concise moth ID book to help us try and identify each individual moth within. So did you know there are over 2,500 species of moths across the British Isles? I'm hoping we've got a fair few in our trap overnight. As I said, I'm going to transfer them into this bucket, or into this box even, from the bucket. And I'm probably going to need your help, Natalie, because this is going to be quite fiddly and tricky. So we're just collecting them in these tiny little sample pots, and the idea is then we can easily see the moth inside and safely ID it without it flying off. Between us, Natalie and I finally managed to catch them all and sort them out, and in total we have 26 individual specimens, of which 3 are not actually moths. We've got 2 grasshoppers here. Unsurprisingly, really, seeing as the meadow behind us is currently humming with cricket and grasshopper calls. We also have this type of ichneumon wasp, which is a parasitoid wasp. Interestingly though, some moths can actually mimic to look like a wasp. For self-defense, bee moths as well, which is really quite cool. So these ones we can cast aside. We have a tub full here of, they're all micro moths. The vast majority of UK moth species are micro moths, and they're really hard to identify. We think the most of those are called grass veneers. But in terms of solid identifiable species, we've got a common swift here, which I'm certain is one of those. They're quite large, pale coloured, but they're quite nice at night because they pick up the moon and starlight. And these, we have 2 common footmen, which are like lead and grey all the way through, with a nice yellow sort of edge to their wings and yellow legs. When they're in flight, they're also quite striking. So they're all really hard to identify. There's a bit of trial and error looking through the book and seeing what we have. So more micro moths here. But as you see, there's loads in here again, which is great. We might continue to do this throughout the year and hopefully catch some rarer specimens like some hawk moths. Now, the only thing left to do is release them, which I shall do now. We released all of the moths back into the long grass, although some weren't as keen to leave as the others. So that's all the moths, or specimens released. Not too bad for a first go, mild success. It seems we had a lot of strong wind and rain last night. Pleased to see that we actually managed to catch a fair few. I think it's now time to go grab some breakfast. Over breakfast, we had a quick look at the camera trap footage, and I was thrilled to see that whilst I was fast asleep, both a badger and a fox roamed just a few metres away from the tent. So we're now 3/4 of the way through our 24-hour period on the farm. One of the things I'm really keen to do is get in and do another pond dip, as we haven't done a film one of these for ages. Interested to see what new life we can find. I'm going to head up to the top pond on the farm, and on the way do some sweep netting and on the spot plant identification. So come with me and let's see what we can find. So all you need to do with the sweep net is you walk through long grass, or in a sweeping motion and twist them back over the top of the vegetation. You're capturing insects and bugs. So let's see what we've got. So I'm just collecting as many specimens as I can in these little sample pots, which are all collected in here. We've actually got more specimens in here than we do have sample pots, so we've been a bit selective and collected some cool examples for you guys to have a look at. So the idea with a sweep net is you pretty much try and capture as many different arthropod orders as possible. Each one can be ranked, given a score, and then higher score, the greater the biodiversity of that habitat. So for example, an order is so like lepidopterans are butterflies and moths, orthopterans, grasshoppers and crickets. So we're going to have a closer look at exactly what we've caught, just to show you just how diverse this essentially just a pathway is. It's just remarkable, really. So let's have a look, see what we found. So the first thing that jumps out to me, no pun intended, is this massive bush cricket. This is a type of orthopteran, and there are actually a couple more examples of orthopterans in here, if I can just find one. These are little, no, that's not it. We do have little field crickets in here as well, which are slightly different looking. These ones. So we've got a collection of orthopterans, but this is an impressive individual, to say the least. He barely fits, so we'll quite like to release him soon. We also have a few lepidopterans, all in their larval form, so they're all caterpillars. Pretty sure these are moth caterpillars. Not exactly sure on the species, but they're all the exact same species, so they obviously like this habitat, probably feeding on the grass. We also have coleopterans, which are the beetle family, and this, which is now hiding in the lid, is a soldier beetle. They're pretty common, they're bright red, and you often see them on top of stems of grass, and they also fly. There we go, he's coming now, but that's another order that we've got in here. There are also hemipterans, which are true bugs. So these are like aphids and black flies and stuff like that. Typical like sucking bugs. And we have some dipterans in there as well, which are flies, right here. So all of these combined obviously give this area a greater biodiversity score. So that means there's more life here and it's abundant, and it means it's really healthy, which is really exciting to see. So obviously now, time to release them. Let them go back to their natural, go back to what they were doing before I disturbed them. So as I walk through here, I can see there's lots of grass species. May all look the same, however it's actually unique and individual species. They're really hard to identify. So I don't have the skills for this, so I'm not even going to attempt it. Have a looking around, I can see that the brambles are in flower, and these are really important for butterflies and bees. There's also a pretty little white flower known as a lesser stitchwort, as well as a delicate yellow flower called wood avens. Right here is a lords and ladies plant. Come winter, this plant will be adorned in beautiful bright red berries. There's also thistles in flower as well, which are also very important for pollinating species. So let's take a wander up further into the woods and see if we can find anything a little bit more unusual. Speaking of unusual, I picked up a couple of unlikely hitchhikers on my walk to the woods, including this longhorn beetle. These striking beetles may look intimidating, however they are harmless and only mimic wasps and bees in defence. They're actually very important pollinators and are not rare, just uncommon to see up close, so this was an exciting encounter. So here in the top reaches of the wood is quite a common flower known as woundwort. It's a beautiful delicate little pink flower on top of a plant which looks like a stinging nettle. And as I look around, there's also an abundance of other pink flowers, including campion, willow herb and herb robert. Perhaps what's more exciting to me though is just up ahead in the meadows of the top field, I can hear lots and lots of crickets chirping. So, got to get in there and sweep that. Right, I'm just sweeping, decided to sweep in a second site in the open meadow, just to see if we get any differences between the last area we did. It'd be interesting to see if we can find some different insects and creatures. And you're going to have a look at this actually, Natalie. We're going to have to, these stinging nettles, I'm just going to pop these away, what I've caught. But these stinging nettles here are just covered in peacock caterpillar.
No way.
Yeah, peacock butterfly caterpillars, that's what I was trying to say.
That's incredible. Oh, they're a bit funny looking, aren't they?
They've got orange feet, haven't they? But it looks like feet, honestly they're not. Covered in black spikes as a defence. Shows just how important stinger nettles are to many creatures. Like, we often just hack them down because they're, you know, a stinging nuisance after all. Well, sorry about that little distraction. Got a bit wayward, but I just had to show you guys what these stinger nettles are like, full of the peacock butterfly caterpillars. Now it's a good time to have a quick look at what I managed to capture on my sweep. Just looking through the top of the bucket here, I can see that there's a high level of biodiversity once again. Similar sort of numbers to what we saw in the last place. There's three soldier beetles in there, 2 of them are mating. There's more crickets and grasshoppers, some quite good sized ones, but also got some ladybirds, which were different from last time. Another beetle, very important for gardens and farms in terms of controlling pest species. Got some leaf hoppers, some more spiders again, and more bush and field crickets, as I said. It's great to see that there is a good level of biodiversity up here in this field. Remember, this is a farmed field. It's been left to go a bit more wild at the moment, but it's good to see there's still a high level of biodiversity in terms of insects and arachnids up here. So now it's time to go onto the pond. The noise of the insects here in the meadow is extraordinary. It's quite frankly deafening. And I'm so pleased to be back at the pond. I can't wait to get my net in underneath the water and see what's lurking beneath. I was just looking around the edge. The bank is adorned with a beautiful yellow flower known as trefoil. So less of what's on the surface. It's time now to take a look at what's beneath it. For that, I'm going to do a pond dip. I'm going to have to change into my waders. Right, now ready for action. Let's get in that pond. The waders came in really handy for reaching the deeper areas of the pond for a more thorough survey. The dogs weren't too impressed by my new look, although I think I rocked it. So the first dip has yielded quite a catch actually. There are 7 Fs in here. They're baby nukes, remember. There's also a lot of diving boatmen and freshwater snails. And I don't know if you remember Natalie and I speaking about the fingernail clams. Got some more of those. But however, I have caught an eft in one of the sample tubes, simply because you can't get them out with your hands. They just lose their form. So just to be able to have a close look at how detailed these guys are and the phenomenal structure that is their external gills that allows them to breathe underwater. Obviously as they grow they lose these, they become internalized, ready for life on the land. But I mean, the last time I came here they were significantly smaller than this as well. You can definitely tell they've developed, and they're fascinating. So, but we'll need to put this guy back. There's not enough water for him in there, so I will release him shortly. So it's interesting to see, compared to the last pond depths we did in this pond, how far fewer macroinvertebrate larvae there are in here, such as dragonfly, damselfly and stonefly larvae. Probably safe to assume that most of these have emerged by now, hence why we haven't caught any. Just a little other things that I've noticed since is the phantom midge larvae are still here, and that's because they can breed throughout the whole year. But now it's time to put them back in the pond and safely release them. So how exciting was that? It's great to see that the pond is still absolutely full of life. I cannot believe we've only got 2 hours left of our 24-hour stint on the farm. I think it's time for me to take these waders off for us to head back to the camp for a nice cup of tea. While walking back down to the camp, we were lucky enough to spot a family of young foxes playing in the field. Sadly, the youngsters ran off pretty quickly. However, the mother remained and allowed us to quietly creep a little closer to watch her. What a truly magical moment.
Oh, it's nice to finally sit down.
Yeah, it's been a hot afternoon and I cannot believe how quickly the time has flown by. I wanted to do so much and really running out of time, to be honest. It's so
I know,
to see.
only an hour or so left really.
Exactly, so I suppose the best thing now to do is give everyone a farm update. We haven't been able to do this for a couple of weeks, or a couple of months really, so.
It's been a long time. I think the biggest change is we've got some guinea fowl, which are an introduced species, so don't tell Ben. They're a bird from Africa, and thankfully they don't cause any environmental damage, which is why we've got them. But what they do is they eat ticks. Ticks, if you haven't come across them, you're very lucky. They're a little insect or
parasite. They're an ectoparasite, and they jump from livestock onto dogs, humans, anything skin. They can bite you and they can pass on a nasty disease called Lyme disease, which can cause paralysis. It can make you really ill, really sick. So the fact that the guinea fowl
eat the ticks is a great thing.
Which is always really good.
So that's really useful. And of course, massive change is the glamping site here is now allowed to be open, as the legislations have changed slightly, also allowing you to come and stay here.
Exactly. I'm very grateful for Karen and Clive allowing me to pitch my shoddy tent in comparison to theirs, to be honest.
Of course, our last task of the day is not the happiest task. It's something we have to do every year, and it comes hand in hand with farming, and that's we've got to separate the lambs from the ewes to take to the abattoir. We're actually only taking half of the lambs at the moment because the others haven't reached the optimum weight yet, but that is our task for the afternoon.
It's something I've never been involved in. I'll happily eat lamb, but it's something I don't know if you guys, is it difficult for you guys to watch them grow up and then?
It is, yeah, but you know, as I say, it comes hand in hand with the process. I love having sheep, and to be able to have them, people have to eat them. And it's lovely to know that most of the lamb is sold really locally, and people are buying really local, ethically reared, grass-fed lamb rather than
low carbon footprint,
shipped halfway across the world.
That's half the trouble with meat consumption now, is the carbon footprint. It's all shipped across from South America, especially lamb.
And New Zealand, yeah.
Yeah, and New Zealand, of course. But as you said, these lambs have had a happy life, and
oh, absolutely.
Yeah. It's the benefits of having a small holding, small flock. They get more attention and more care, I suppose.
But yeah, we'd better finish our tea and go and give a hand.
I might like to put my feet up for another 10 minutes, I think, and then we'll go and do it.
Okay.
We'll wrestle in rounds. So Natalie, Clive and I brought the small flock of Welsh mules down into a pen and sorted out which lambs were being taken to the butcher. I was worried that the process would be stressful for the flock, but I'm pleased to say that both the lambs and the ewes were very calm and quickly went back to grazing once we let them back into the field. So that's it, our 24-hour adventure on the farm is over. Boy, has it gone fast. There's so much more we wish we could have shown you, however we just simply don't have the time. There's just too much here to be able to fit into one day. Maybe next time we'll have to do it for a week, if we could put up with each other for that long, that is. Maybe we'll do it after 100 episodes or something. It's actually been really fun to shoot this episode like this, and we hope you enjoy it as much as we have enjoyed making it for you. So there's going to be no wild encounters this week, as this whole day has been just full of wild encounters for us. We might have something slightly different for you at the end, maybe some highlights of some sort. So all that's left for me now is to take down my tent. So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook to stay up to date for the latest updates in terms of future episodes. So stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy nature. Sheep are just down there. What was that? On the farm, and even found a ladybird pupa.
What?
A ladybird.
Ladybird peeper.
I might have to do that again.
No, you're not in there. You was going to crawl one up into us.
As well as amphibians such as newts, salamanders and frogs. Red Admiral is the UK's champion migratory butterfly. The Red Admiral is the UK's champion migratory butterfly. I said it fine, but it still made me laugh. Find them in your gut. Sake. I think I swallowed a meadow brown.
Now.
So it's really nice to see that Karen and Clive encourage them.